I think we're live, Mike.
I think we are.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's My Game show. I am obviously Kirsty, and I'm joined by the magnificent Michael Ames over there on that side of the screen.
Hello, yeah, that's that side. Yeah, it's backwards on this product that we use. Hello and welcome. And today we're going to look at this: how to overcome the biggest blocker in scaling your business. So, if you own a business and you want it to scale, then there are things standing in your way. Lots of them, in fact. We're going to do the root cause of all of them today. So, can't wait.
Okay, so Mike, on that, in the advertising of this, when you put things out on LinkedIn, you mentioned a couple of times, you teased your little tease there. You mentioned, so come on, hit us with it. What is the biggest blocker to scaling your business?
Not paying enough bribes. Just kidding. Just absolutely kidding. It's not the 80s anymore now, is it? No. The biggest single blocker is this: being too transactional. It's the root cause of everything. You just get stuck in your business and you're just doing the transactions, basically. It's a real problem.
Okay, so again, with a lot of things, that some things mean different things to different people. So transactional to me is buying something. I go to the shop and I make a transaction and I buy something. What do you mean by transactional in this moment?
Yeah, pretty much that, really. So whatever you do, you hunt around and get some work. That's what you're looking for, is work. So you hunt around and get some work, deliver that work, get paid for it, hunt for some more work. I mean, that's a repetitive cycle. That's pretty much what it is. And because of that, and this is the number one blocker, not the only blocker, of course, because of that, that spurs off other things that are a real problem. That if you do that, and in recruitment, which is our field, that is endemic. People just do that. And their version of business development is to go and get a vacancy, which is my definition of business development, by the way. So they get a vacancy, got a vacancy now, forget everything, fill the vacancy. Got no vacancies, better go and get another vacancy then. I know it's not quite like that, but you get this vicious circle. Transactional, that's what that is.
Okay, but I mean, transactional gets me money into my business, and as a business owner, that's sort of important to pay myself and pay my company. So really, what's so bad about being transactional?
Yeah, it is, and somebody in the business has to be transactional, right? Okay. So if you've got a team of you, if it's a small business, then probably everybody will be transactional. Okay. When you start off on your own, sitting around your dining room table with your laptop, starting your business, you will be almost entirely transactional. But if I've got a graph, what you'll see is kind of the amount of transactional. Wrong way around. There you go. And the amount of transactional that you've got will drop as your business matures. You should become less and less transactional, and at the other end, you should be more and more strategic in what you do. It's a balance between the two. But if you looked at the stats that were in the LinkedIn post that went with the show today, you'll see that huge disparity in terms of how many people are in recruitment and how many people actually make decent money from it. It's really, really low. And it's because they just stick to the transactional. They become a hunter, killer, devourer. Hunter, killer, devourer. It's not the way to scale.
Okay, all right. So how do I become too transactional? Like what is it that I'm doing wrong in my business, or what is it that's sort of not happening?
You're not doing anything wrong. Okay. No, for sure, right? So you start off, you've got to eat. You've got to go out there and get some business and some opportunities and fill them, right? Some work and deliver it. That's what you have to do. However, from the get-go, and I say this to all my clients when I start working with them, particularly the smaller ones, you are no longer a recruiter. You are now a business owner that does recruitment. And there is a world of difference between those two things, massively so. You are now a business owner that does recruitment, or the law, or accountancy, or window cleaning, whatever it is that you do. That's what you are first. And the way in which you begin to think has to be like a business owner. Whereas what you do is get a lot of people who are very good at their job, who set up on their own. And again, recruitment is endemic with this. All they do is just begin to be great recruiters. And for a time, the business shoots off because they're just putting bums on seats. Awesome. But it needs more than that to scale a business. And if you're too transactional, you don't do the kind of things. I've got two things in particular that you don't do that will actually scale your business massively so.
Okay. We are going to go into them in a second. Just anybody who's watching, I would be interested, any owners of businesses, if you've made that leap from being very good at your job to being a business owner who sometimes does your job, please let us know in the comments. We always like to hear that. So if you have got a story, please let us know. So Mike, those two things, let's go with this. Hit me with number one, Mike.
Okay, it's that one. Now, that might sound stupid really, because people are going to say, well, of course I've got loads of high value relationships, and I know, but just not enough. If you chase work, then you'll have to continue chasing work. If you build relationships, the work will come to you. That's how it works. So if you look at my business with the growth that we had, which was enormous in both businesses really, it's because took time to establish relationships, and then the work comes to you. It's relatively easy. And I'm not talking about those dreadful things with portals and stuff where you get an email with a job in it or whatever. I'm actually talking about a relationship with someone who values you, who has a repeat need for whatever it is that you sell, and likes you, and is prepared to work with you. That's a high value client. So the more of those that you have, the easier your day becomes, and the work comes to you a lot more. And what a lot of people do, as I said, when they get into that end of month warrior syndrome, where hunt, kill, devour, just on work, on vacancies, then that's all you'll ever do, really. And it's just the road to nowhere.
Okay. So, and when you say high value, you mentioned stuff there about not only, I assume, are they potentially worth a lot of revenue to you, right? Repeat revenue, but they're also working with you. They buy into you. They buy into your company. They're not those difficult clients that every single one of us has had. They're kind of two ends of high value, right?
Yeah, they're well. For one thing, they're not high volume necessarily. It's very rare that high volume is high value, unless you're a big company and you can operate on 3% margins or whatever. So the chances are, if you're smaller, micro and small business, which is who we trade with, then high volume not so good for you really. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, it's the fact that they value you. They value their supplier community, and you're part of it. They want to work with you. They want to help you. They perhaps give you the edge because they like you more than the next guys, which is fine. This is the definition of high value. Oh, and they have a repeat need for what you sell. So there's no sense building a long-term relationship with someone that just buys once, because that's a waste of time and effort. So you need to be able to establish a relationship with someone. And we can cover this actually. I think we've talked about it before in a previous show, but I think we can cover it again at some point. It's really important to get the right contact regime, i.e. how much effort you put into them, leveled up against what they're worth to you. Get that balance right and everything works well. Get it wrong one way or the other and you miss out, because you either put too much effort into somebody that you shouldn't, or not enough effort into somebody that you should. But if you do that, what happens is it's relatively easy to get the work, and it's relatively easy to deliver that work, relatively speaking.
Okay, and it's an enjoyable experience as well, I guess. Everyone likes clients that like working with them.
It's more fun, sure. Because just one more thing on this, we all drop the baton. If you've got somebody that buys into you as opposed to rent you, because some suppliers are rented to do a job, and you know what I mean by that, right? So yeah, sure. Others are bought. You're bought into part of the infrastructure of the business that you're trading with. Well, if you've got people that buy into you, when you make a mistake, as we all do, they'll help you put that mistake right. If they rent you, they'll beat you up over it, because that's what they do.
Yeah. Okay. That definitely makes sense. And we all want people who buy into us, because right now the world is a tricky place. So we have had a couple of comments, but before we go on to them, I do want to get onto this second point here, which you've got. So the first one is build those high value relationships, ones that are valuable to us in more ways than one. What's the second one, Mike?
Okay, it's that. So everyone's heard that expression, I know, but that's exactly what it is. It's you work in the business too much, so you don't work on the business enough. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. You are now a business owner that does something to make money.
Okay.
And in your head, you have to make that adjustment to the new world.
Okay.
You'll never move out of it.
Okay. All right. So you've got two statements there. So just for clarification, I like to be clear, Michael. I'm blonde, so I need clarification on almost everything. So
blonde, you say?
Not in this lockdown, but in every other lockdown. Let's just define what working in your business. So if we're doing it too much, what kind of things is working in our business?
It's the day-to-day stuff, really. So anything from doing your job you get paid for, which is true,
So if you're a
doing
recruiter
administrative
recruiting,
duties, if you're recruiting, whatever, doing your day-to-day duties, doing some sales work, some marketing work, looking after your staff,
billing, things like that.
doing your emails, that kind of stuff. Really, it's just day-to-day. You come in, and actually working in your business normally happens to you. That's what it's sort of. Oh my goodness, I must do this now. It's pretty obvious when you get into it what working in your business is.
Okay, all right. So we know what we don't want to do, which is what we have to do, but what we don't want to do too much of. So now let's look at what we should be doing. What would you define as working on your business?
Okay. Before I do that, two things. Firstly, as I said, this is a sliding scale. You are a business owner that does recruitment, but you mainly do recruitment when you start, and gradually that drops down. And if you don't let it drop down, your business won't go up. Or if it does, you'll get a nervous breakdown. I've been through that. Tell you now, you don't want to be doing that, right? No. The second thing is that when you're working on your business, the things that you do, we're going to cover in a show all of its own on the 11th of March, because it's quite a big subject, and I'd like to dig a lot deeper into it. But what I would say, it's things like planning. So I'm going to give you the headlines now. We'll look into the detail on the show on the 11th, but it's things like planning and preparation and strategy and research and investing in yourself and being a leader.
Right.
Having
looking forward, looking up and out rather than down and in. Is that?
Yes, well said. Managers look down and in, leaders look up and out, for sure. Okay. So that is an absolute necessity if you lead. The metaphor is, at some point you have to stop hacking your way through the forest and climb the highest tree and see where you're at.
Okay.
That's a leadership activity.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So we have got some tips now about how you can overcome this biggest blocker that we keep on talking about, being transactional.
Should we go to questions first?
Before we do that, we have had some. Well, some of them are questions, some of them are comments.
Bring it on.
Barry is massively disappointed in both of us. We aren't particularly very tropical today, and Peter is just egging him on. He's desperate to get back on the show, guys. But it's my show.
Yeah, and he keeps sending me letters. Curse is rubbish. Give me a chance, champ. Let me in there. Come on, then. I may. I don't know yet. I'll see how I go.
That's what we should do. And then Ben has come and said that this is gold. So I'm glad to see that you guys are enjoying what we're doing so far. So,
am I on camera? No, great, Ben. I'll send the 20 quid. Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Well,
put me back on camera now.
Michael, we're live. We're live. Right. Okay. So what we're going to do now is, I like things to be practical. I like things to be as tangible as possible for people who are watching the show. So you're in this cycle of being transactional by whatever reason. So either you don't have enough of the high value relationships, or you're working too much in your business rather than on it. If I'm a person watching this now and I'm experiencing those problems, what can I do?
Well, three things. I'm going to share three things with you, but I just want to just reinforce that backdrop. The first thing is, this isn't one of the three. So there are four things, I suppose, aren't there? Should have thought that through. Sure. This is a backdrop to everything.
Who's blonde now, eh?
Well, not me, obviously.
Silver fox.
They call me the silver fox around here, yeah. Until Peter had taken my name off, that's what it said. But anyway, so yeah, just make that transition. You are now a business owner who does the thing that you do. And that's really important, that you kind of make that transition and begin to think like an owner of a business. Even if you only do it for a few minutes a week, it doesn't matter. You are now no longer a recruiter like you were when you worked for that big company that you came from. It's different now. It's not the same. Okay, so that's probably a backdrop to it all. But the first thing is to set aside some time each week to work on your business. We will be looking at this on the 11th of March and expand upon it, but it doesn't, right? So it doesn't have to be, crikey, it's 12:30 on a Wednesday. It's time for me to work on my business. I don't mean that. I mean, shift yourself out of the day-to-day. Mentally, you've got to let that go for a period of time so you can begin to think about other things. Now, I know everybody does that. Don't get me wrong. I know that. But you should do whatever you do more, because that's the secret to growth, is to begin to work on your business. Treat yourself, be a business owner, and treat the business as something you need to grow. You happen to work there. You happen to do a job. Fine. Right. You might not always do that job. You have people to do what you do in the fullness of time. But you'll only get to that position if you do that. So whether that's your daily exercise, we all go for our walks every day. Well, I don't, actually, to be fair. But I think about it, and I see other people going for their walks every day.
You look outside. That's enough.
I do have lots of windows in this room, and I look outside, and that's great. I see the dogs running around. That's okay, isn't it? I know, yeah. So that's the first thing. But so whether it's that or whether you just say, I'm going to finish at 5 o'clock today or something, and I sit in my big chair, which I've got right there. It looks pretty groovy actually, and have a glass of beer and just have a little chat or whatever. But I don't know. Just find some time to work on the business mentally, beyond mentally there.
And so some things that can help you with that are, like you mentioned, kind of going away. So if you are in the office, then going home or going out for a walk, or is it sometimes if you're by yourself and you're doing that, obviously those kind of things, but if you're, a partnership or something, then maybe going when they're open again, going down the pub or going for a walk together and just making sure you're out of the zone of in.
Which brings me to the second point.
For that, I jumped ahead.
No, you're ahead of the game there, aren't you? No, that's okay. The thing I think with this is that different people approach this differently. I like to talk to people because I think when I can talk. So to me, working on the business is better done with other people, for sure. But I know other people who have to be the exact opposite. They have to be on their own, in the zone, as they say, or in the flow, whatever term that you want to use. And that's how they do it. They think and they cogitate, and then the answer comes to them. It doesn't matter, whatever works for you. I think it's useful to involve people in that working on your business at some point. Right. Even if it's, in my case, I just want to talk about this thing for a bit. And then you'll say something that suddenly will make me go off on one.
Yeah, you almost want to use someone as a soundboard, almost.
Well, because you are that soundboard on many occasions.
I am very often that soundboard, yeah.
And so is Peter. When we tie him down with duct tape to the chair, he likes it.
It's not important.
But so that works. But if you're the kind of person that needs to internalize and then sort of come out with it, then go and present that to someone. Talk to them about it. Make it a thing in your business to work on it. For sure.
We've got a comment here from Sam that he says his mind goes into overdrive with ideas and forward thinking just when he's trying to go to sleep, which I imagine a lot of people find as a problem. So maybe Sam, if you got your brain into the habit of doing it on a walk or in a meeting, maybe your brain will be like, we've done it.
Do you know what? I know you sort of said that half jokingly, but it's absolutely true. It's because that's the time when your brain is empty. You're no longer transactional, and somewhere deep inside you, it's right. It's our turn now. This is what we've been waiting for. Don't. You're absolutely right, Kirsty, with your advice. Find another time, and that won't happen. If it does happen, my advice to you is to get up and write it down. Yeah. Write it down. Have a book somewhere close to you. Write it down, because then when it's out of your head and onto a piece of paper, your subconscious, which is bringing this stuff up, will be saying, right, we've done that now. We're fine. He'll look at that tomorrow. That's great. Yeah, we can go to sleep now. It's mad though, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I imagine this is really relevant for those who run a business by themselves or are kind of sole traders who get that commercial loneliness when you do so much by yourself that you sort of talk yourself in circles. And then as soon as you involve somebody else, it's like the clouds split and sunlight comes down on you and there's like a choir of angels.
Yeah. But there's three groups of people. You can involve yourself with your peers, people like you, and that's great to do that if you can do it. And you have to be careful it doesn't become an echo chamber, though. Yeah, that's a problem. And of course, if there's competitors in the group, it's awkward. So that's one thing though worth doing. I think people outside of your normal sphere, so that could be friends and relatives that you can talk to. Mrs. Ames and I go down the hot tub. It's not relevant. I just thought I'd mention that. No,
thank you.
When I'm down there, she just sits there like that, and I'm like, and another thing, this is great, you'll love this, and it's like all of that stuff. We come out like prunes, actually.
Mum loves it. Mum's a big fan.
But so you don't have to go to the jacuzzi with someone, although hey, it's cool, really. We have champagne and everything.
It's just HR is just writing notes just hectically somewhere.
Yes, but I think we'll sue Mike Ames. He just knows.
Let's move on swiftly. Let's move on.
Let's move on to I'm still on the second group, but it could be a friend or an ex-colleague or anyone really, and then the third group of professionals, which is what we do for certain people. I'm not pitching for work or anything. I'm just saying it's what we do, as other people do as well. Yeah. You get paid to end that commercial loneliness, and in my case, what I'm bringing in is and not just my case, other people do it too, is that external challenge, which you don't necessarily get if you're with a group of peers or with friends. We are trained professionally to push things and make them ordered. Our job is to give clarity, really, and so I don't care what you do, though. If you can't afford that, just find somebody. But it's massively important.
Nikki's got a great idea there, which is sort of linked to the third one.
She does that. She does do that, and I text back, don't I? Come on, Nikki Gorringe. Yeah, I do. So come on then.
Okay, all right. So what we've got so far, set aside some time for yourself each week, whether that is out on a walk, whether it's moving yourself from where you normally do your business to somewhere else. And then the second thing that you can do is involve somebody else, whether that is a peer, whether it's somebody else in the company, whether it's a professional, or whether it's just a friend or an acquaintance or your partner or whatever it might be. So what is our third and final tip, Mike?
Right, the first one is this, right? You really do have to put aside a little time to build non-transactional relationships. Now, luckily for you, we've got a whole webinar on that, 24th of March, on our webinar series. I'll put the link to that, or Kirsty will put the link to that in the comments to this. Actually, yeah, we'll put it in the comments, really, but it's worth attending. It's free and everything. There's no catch for it. Those people who've been to our webinars will know this, but I'm going to spend a whole hour explaining a very simple system which is designed to do that. There's no marketing money to spend. It's like pretty much zero cost, and it massively de-skills the process of building relationships with high-value new clients, massively. So pretty much anybody can do it. So I really don't want to spend vast amounts of time on it today, but I do want to say a few things, strangely enough. The problem is we are all focused on the end of the month, especially when you start and you haven't got much money, or if you're part of a bigger organization and you get paid by what you deliver at the end of the month. We call them end of the month warriors, and I don't mean that in disrespectful way. That's come on, let's get out there and let's do this, let's smash this, and that's fine. You have to have someone in your business that does that, because that's where the money comes from. Keeps the lights on. Totally get it. But there has to be somebody or some function in your business that builds long-term relationships. So given the choice between, say, an average person in a business, given the choice between something which might give some revenue this month or next month, or that might give some revenue in 6, 9, 12 or 18 months time, or it might not, who knows, which one would most people do? Well, the answer for most people, it's the money. And I get it, right? But even if you can only afford 20 minutes a week to begin to work out who you want to target, how you can start a dialogue with them, the way in which you can build that relationship and get it to the point of purchase, the fruition, where the person of interest that you've been targeting says, oh, okay, yeah, I like what you're saying. This is your chance now. How do you do that? Well, of course, I'm going to cover all of that in the webinar, but just put some time aside for that. Even if it's only 10 people that you're targeting, just make sure that you do. And the more time that you put into that, eventually, the less time that you'll have to be transactional and chasing your tail, looking for pieces of work to satisfy and then move on to the next. Very much so.
Okay. All right. Whew. Okay. So we've got a couple of things that we sort of learned today. So first of all, the biggest blocker to scaling your business is that you're, for whatever reason, too transactional. You're so focused on just that and then moving on and that and moving on, doing your job and moving on, that it becomes a problem. So the two biggest reasons for that is that you don't build enough high value relationships with people who are not only high value in the fact that they're repeat business, but also that they are the kind of people who really buy into you. They
value relationships, so that gives you an edge. If they don't value the relationship, you don't get the edge, and you need the edge.
Okay, right. And then the second thing is that you're too kind of stuck looking down and into your business and not enough on and out. You're not planning forward. You're just doing the day to day, and you're just sort of stuck in that cycle. So we have 3 big tips for helping you to get out of that situation. The first is that you need to set aside some time each week, whether that's 20 minutes or an hour, whatever it will be, where you are able to work on your business. And that's giving yourself space, both mentally and physically, if that's what you need to.
Headspace, yeah, sure.
To get into that zone where you can think more strategically. And that should help certain people perhaps not be stuck awake at night when they're lying in bed.
Yes, Sam, we mean you.
Yeah, we're talking to you. Then you can also involve somebody else in these sessions, and you should do so, whether that's a colleague, whether that's a friend, or whether that's a professional that you're talking to, or whether it's you texting Mike at kind of 11:30 at night, either or, whatever works best for you. And finally, you need to make time to really start and build those relationships with long-term, high-value decision makers. So
all of that underlined by the recognition and acceptance and devotion to the statement that you are a business owner that happens to do the thing you do.
Yeah, and I think that's integral in the step from working as an employee, as somebody who's good at your job, who enjoys your job as well, and then enjoys it so much that you want to be your own boss.
Sure.
And it's that sort of flick, that 180 that you need to switch it around.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. We've see if we've got any more comments. Yeah, so Ben said again, 10 people who might spend 10 more income with you as the way to target those on the last point.
Yes, it sure is, Ben. It absolutely is. Can I just say a quick word on next week, if that's okay? We have Dan Jones on the show next week, and Dan is an SEO expert who works almost exclusively with the recruitment industry. So he's going to turn up and tell us what SEO really means. Apparently not what we think it means, which is awesome. And then we're going to go away with some tips of things that we can use right now in our SEO activities. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's next week. That will be at a later time of 12:30, of course. Don't forget.
Back to standard time for us. So I hope everybody watching found this useful. If you did, please let us know in the comments. And as Mike said, we will see you next week when we'll be learning about SEO. So thank you, Mike, for adding such value today.
You're very welcome. And thank you, Kirsty, for managing the session. And I'll see you all next week. Take care now.
Bye, guys.